Good morning, students. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about holding company. So, first, let us discuss the meaning and definition of holding and subsidiary company. So, we are working in a business world which are started to engage in a large scale operation. So, in order to carry out a large scale business, the merger and acquisition takes place. So, one company can acquire another company to engage in a large scale operation. This could ultimately affect the independent existence of one company among the two or more. So, holding company is any company which is holding a maximum number of control over another company by holding its shares or board of directors. So, here, according to Companies Act, that is Indian Companies Act of 2013, Section 4 and Subsection 4, a company it shall be deemed to be a holding company if, but only if, the other company is its subsidiary. Same way, subsidiary company can also be defined as a company. It is a subsidiary of another if and only if the other company is holding the maximum number of shares, that is more than 50% of shares of this company. Also, they can have the maximum voting rights as well as they can have a control over the maximum compensation of the board of directors. So we have an example here. If in case we have three companies A, B and C. A is actually held by B and C company is actually held by A. Here indirectly A company is actually holding C. So directly A is holding C, whereas B is holding C company indirectly, as A company is a subsidiary of B. So let me repeat it once again. A, B, C. We have three companies. A is a subsidiary of B, whereas C is a subsidiary of A. So B has an indirect connection over C. So B becomes the holding company of C company. Next, we'll discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of holding companies. Advantages of holding company. It is very easy to form. So if I am going to start a company, so I have to start it from the scratch. It takes a very long process. So obviously, if there is a company which is already existing and if I'm going to acquire the shares, it is very easy for me to form a operation within that organization. So this helps in an easy formation. Next, large capital. So it is very difficult to raise a very large capital with a single company. If I have a group of company like it has been acquired like holding in a subsidiary, then obviously a large capital could be raised and it could be utilized in a large scale operation which could give me a large turnover. So next, it is avoidance of competition. So if I'm going to acquire a company which is of a same line of business as mine, then obviously it could cut down the competition. So this could help the holding company. So next is the operation of large scale, as we have a larger capital and also the scope is larger with large number of organization. It is very easy to indulge in a large scale operation. So next is the secrecy maintained. So since the decision making power is with the holding company, it is very easy to make decisions as in a very secret and authoritative manner. So they can have a complete authority over their organizations and also maintain the secrecy very easily. So next is the risk avoidance. So regarding risk avoidance, I can being the major participant in the market, being a large participant, I can understand what the market is actually working on and how it is working. So based on that, I could avoid the risk that is about to happen or which is actually happening. So avoidance of risk can be easily done. Next, we have disadvantages of holding company. When we have a positive as well as we have some negatives. So first is overcapitalization. When we can raise a large amount of capital, at the same time, if the capital is not employed properly, this could lead to a over capitalization. Next is misuse of power. So, being an authoritative power, the holding company can sometimes misuse the power in its hand, and it could lead to some unnecessary situations. Next is exploitation of subsidiary and manipulation. There could be a possibility of exploitation of the subsidiary, seeing being the holding company making all the decision, the subsidiary could be affected at some time. So next is the concentration of economic power. So, the holding company being a decision maker and have control over every operation and the board decision, there could be a possibility of they have that is actually it is the maximum possibility that they have the maximum economic power. So, that particular concentration of power in one hand can be a good option, but sometimes it can be a negative one too. So next is a secret monopoly, acquiring maximum number of organization outside. So this could lead to a secret monopoly since the holding company have the maximum control. Let us now discuss about the different types of holding company. Types of holding company. First, let us discuss what is pure holding company. So, pure holding company is nothing but any company which is exactly formed only to acquire, purely to acquire the share of another company, then it's called pure holding company. Next is mixed holding company. Any company which holds shares in an unrelated business line, then they form the mixed holding company. In such a way, they form a conglomerate. Next is immediate holding company. Any company which hold the immediate stock control or the voting right control, then they are called the immediate holding company. So next is the intermediate holding company. I have given you an example previously, A, B and C. So in this case, if A is a subsidiary of B and C is a subsidiary of A, so in here A becomes the holding company of C, whereas the subsidiary of B. So here A company is nothing but our intermediate holding company. So A company, they cannot prepare their uh, consolidated balance sheet being a holding company, as they are subsidiary to B company. So next is parent holding company. If any company which is already existing, if they are going to acquire another company or going to start a new company, then they are called the parent holding company. So next is offspring holding company. Offspring holding company are nothing but any company which are formed, that is purely formed so that the other company can have a control over this company in the decision making and operations, then it's called an offspring holding company. Next is proprietary holding company. So if any company which holds the entire stake or entire share of that particular subsidiary company, then it's called the proprietary holding company. So next is the finance holding company. It's nothing but they does not interfere in the operation, whereas they act as a financing part, so they provide with the required fund. So next is your investing holding company. So this company also does not involve in the operation, whereas they involve in investing the shares of this particular company. So next is our primary holding company. It is nothing but any company which is not a subsidiary of any other company, but they have subsidiaries outside, so they only involve in holding. Next, we'll see what are all the different types of subsidiary company. So, subsidiary, we have two main types, that is wholly owned subsidiary and partly owned subsidiary. If in case the holding company, it owns the entire share of that particular subsidiary company, it becomes the wholly owned subsidiary company. If in case there are more than 51 percentage of shares being held by the holding company and the remaining being held by the minority shareholders, then the company is called the partly owned subsidiary company. Now, let us see what is meant by pre-acquisition and post-acquisition profit. Now we'll see about the pre-acquisition and post-acquisition profit first. So if a company is working, we record the accounts. So it will be normally we'll account during the financial year or during the annual year. So if any profit or loss it has been earned by that particular subsidiary company before the date of acquisition, then that is called the pre-acquisition. So if it is profit, then we call it as a capital profit. If it is a loss, then it is called as a capital loss. The pre-acquisition profit or loss is called as a capital profit or loss. So post-acquisition profit. So if in case there is any profit or loss it is being earned after that acquisition period, that is called the post-acquisition profit or loss. It is also called as the revenue profit or loss. So we have an example here. So here there is a company A, it is acquired by company B. So here A company is the subsidiary company. If A company is recording its accounts from April 1st to 31st of March, if that particular company is being acquired on 1st September, then the profit which is earned from 1st April to 1st September will be called as the capital profit or pre-acquisition profit, whereas the profit which is earned after 1st September till 31st of March will be called as the post acquisition profit or revenue profit. Minority interest. So, minority interest is nothing but the control of shares which is held by the outsiders. So, let us discuss, as we discussed before, it is nothing but if a holding company is there, so it has held more than 51% of shares, and but not they have acquired the entire share of that particular subsidiary company. In that case, there will be a less than 51% of shares which is held by the outsider or a minority shareholder. This part is called the minority interest. It is also called as a non-controlling interest. Now let us see what is cost of control or a goodwill is. Cost of control or goodwill. So this is nothing but if I am going to acquire a company, obviously I'll pay an amount for that. So either through acquisition, that is I'll acquire some shares. So if the value of the amount that I have paid to acquire that particular share, if it is that it can be equal, sometimes it can be less than the fair value or greater than the fair value. So if in case I'm going to pay any amount for that, that is called the cost of control. So if in case I'm going to pay an amount which is more than the fair value, so here that particular amount, let's have an example. We pay 50 lakhs. So actual fair value of that particular organization it is 30 lakhs. So I have paid 20 lakhs excess. So here this 20 lakhs is nothing but the goodwill. So it is the goodwill of that particular subsidiary company which we have acquired. It will be treated as a goodwill in our balance sheet on the asset side. So if in case that particular value which I have paid, it is less than the fair value of that particular organization, so then it will be treated as a capital reserve and it will be shown on the liability side in our reserves and surplus. So this is, I'll give you another example here. So 5 lakhs worth is the organization, whereas I have paid 3 lakhs. So 3 lakhs is the amount that I have paid, but actual worth is 5 lakhs. So here 2 lakhs I have paid less. So this particular amount will be maintained by the holding company in its own reserve, that is capital reserve. So these are the items which we deal in case of the holding company. So all these items that we have seen, that is pre-acquisition profit, post-acquisition profit, we saw revenue, that is nothing but our minority interest, and also we have seen our cost of control. All these items will be reflected on the balance sheet of that particular holding company, that is the consolidated balance sheet of the holding company. So here First item, our capital profit or revenue profit, that is nothing but pre-acquisition or post-acquisition profit, will be shown on our liability side in our reserves and surplus. If in case there is any loss, then it will be shown on the liability side, sorry, asset side. So next, if in case there is any minority interest, it will be shown on your liability side, whereas the cost of control, that is, if in case it is a goodwill, it will be shown on the asset side, whereas if it is capital reserve, it will be shown on the reserves and surplus of liabilities side. Thank you.